special program for you this evening based on the genius of a great composer, Cole Porter, who wrote the words and the music to so many songs that we love. And here's two songs from both Can Can and High Society. True Love and It's Alright With Me. One is complex and one is simple. So I'm going to show you the scope of his genius. Here we go with Cole Porter's great compositions. Here we go. I recently watched the movie High Society, which featured Bing Crosby, Grace Kelly, and Frank Sinatra. It's a great musical. And there were a number of great songs in that film, but particularly one of them was called True Love, which is really a simple tune, but perfectly composed by Cole Porter in words and music. And also, that same show featured another one of Cole Porter's tunes called It's Alright With Me. Now, it might have been in the original Broadway version because I didn't see it in the movie or hear it in the movie. But it's also more of a jazz tune, which jazz performers have been playing for years. And Ella Fitzgerald made a recording of it as well. So now I thought it'd be interesting to play both of those songs for you and break them down and show you how Cole Porter could write very simple and he could write very complex. And yet it's a genius level composition. So here we go now. We'll start out with It's Alright With Me, and then we'll talk later on about True Love. Now the song All Right, It's All Right With Me is in the key of E flat relative to C minor, and it starts out in the relative minor. So it starts out in C minor, you know, relative to E flat major. And so it ends up in E flat major at the end of the song. So we'll call it E flat major, but it's really a combination of the minor and the major. And the minor key allows us to play modally on a modal scale, which is very interesting, of course. Now, first thing I had to do was figure out what's the form of the song, how am I going to arrange it in terms of the form of it, and also how am I going to reharmonize it in chords and so on, chord progressions that are going to be more applicable to jazz improvisation. And that's the thing that all jazz musicians do, that we take a song and we adapt it, so more or less, by reharmonizing it so that it becomes smoother for improvisation. So I'm going to show you those two factors. First, I'll start out with how I conceived of the arrangement. Now, this song is written in cut time, if you read the sheet music. And so for the practicality of Broadway and up-tempos, it was often done in cut time. But for jazz purposes, I want to convert it to 4/4 so I can have the bass walking on the 4 beats. So it's an AABA with an extension on the end. Now, it's different from most songs because the A's are longer. They're 16 measures, but of course they're cut time, so they go by quicker. Now, each section is 16 bars, so you have AABA, and then you have an extension of 8 bars at the end. So I wanted each section to sound distinctly different from the one before it. In other words, so I started out with a 2 beat in the rhythm section for the first A, and then the second A, I went to a 4 beat. In other words, the bass is walking in 4, and I'm changing the position of where I'm playing. I'm playing up an octave, and I'm comping in the left hand rhythmically. So you'll see that, how I've changed and created variety throughout this long song to keep it interesting. So how do I make that interesting? Well, the first thing I did was I played the first A using mostly chords in the right hand. And some spread voicing and some rootless voicings here. So that was the first technique. Now when we get the second A, now I used a different technique, and I had the bass and the drums go to 4. Now in the second section, the second A, I'm having him walk. Now that changes completely how the song is going to sound, because now I can, it's going to swing harder on the 4/4. You know, the bass. Now it's really swinging, so now I'm going to use a different way of comping. I'm going to put the melody up here an octave. Now these fourth voicings, or chordal voicings, are built on a Dorian scale. C minor, it's a Dorian. So it has these 2 flats. It's built on a B flat scale. Starting on the second step is Dorian. So this is C Dorian, and all these chords, chordal chords, work with that melody. When I get to the F minor now, I want to voice it that way with the A flat. I want the A flat in the scale. And go to natural minor scale like that. See, it has to be that note. It can't be there. It has to be. Now I can go to that scale. Now because now I'm on the F minor chord. You see, so for each important chord that you're playing in the melody, there may be a different, slightly different scale, you know. And then I go to this. That's good. Now I'm on a D7 sharp 9, so now I have this scale. You know. Now, a lot of this is intellectual, but a lot of it is also your ears. You know, you can hear those scales. That's a Superlocrian scale built on C. Now, a Lydian, and I talk about these Lydian flat 7 scale. I talk about these scales on numerous videos. I have over 300 of them. So You know, you're going to learn all about scales if you watch my videos. So the second part, the second A is going to be the walking bass now with a swing feel. Now when I go into the bridge, now the bass player is playing on a pedal tone. Now what does that mean? So you have the first A sort of sitting on the melody, and the melody notes are very important, the chords are very important. The second A, you have forward motion, really swinging. And then contrast on the bridge. Now the forward motion stops and we're on a pedal tone. What does that do? It puts us in suspension. We're like locked into something. In other words, we're hovering, you know, we're hovering. It's so interesting to have these not only melodic changes, but these rhythmic changes. Pedal tone. You know, that kind of thing. Now we're you know, these kind of changes within the structure of the form of the song. And I also did it with the, you know, with the locked hands. But the important thing is to understand the rhythmic aspect of it in the rhythm section. And then on the last 8, last 16. Or 20, whatever it is. Now we're walking up to the point of the end of the song where it goes back to 2, which gives it more concentration and to reach a sort of a climax, you know, like, so we're going now here. You know, now we're back to improvising, and now improvise on the 4/4 beat, on the walking beat. Those contrasts within the sections, not only are they complex within the concept of Cole Porter, but they are jazz musicians' concept of how to play a jazz interpretation of a great standard. Talking about the reharmonization, first of all, I took the F7 out and just made it C minor for the first 8 bars. It ends up on F minor. Then here, went to B flat in the original chord, but I used a D7 sharp 9. Why? Because I'm approaching a G half diminished chord, so I wanted to use the 5 of that. In other words, sounds great, you know. There's the G, minor 7 flat 5, and then a C7 sharp 11 flat 9. And then the 2 chord in dominant 4. Then I used the tritone substitute here. Instead of a D minor to a G7, 2, 5, 1 into C minor, I used the A flat sharp 11. That's the sharp 11 there. So, you know, we're trying to reharmonize. Same thing on the bridge, on the second A. I want to go the second ending. Instead of just resolving to E flat and let it sit there, I decide to do this. 2, 5, then go to the flat 7 like this, and then the half step above the root, and then half step above the tonic. So D flat, E major 7, E flat. It's a nice way to resolve. That's not where I'm not sitting on the 1 chord. But then on the bridge, the first chord in the score has an E flat pedal with a B flat minor chord here. Then it goes to a E flat diminished, then an A flat minor with the E flat pedal tone, and the F diminished. So the pedal tone is on the E flat. Well, that's fine, but I thought more interesting would to do parallel diminished chords, chromatic to each other. In other words, the pedal being the 5, and then it be B flat diminished, then an A diminished. I actually heard Errol Garner do this, so there's the A flat diminished there. Then resolving it here. You see, so that's a interesting passage to have those diminished chords in chromatic descending motion. B flat, A diminished, A flat, then resolving to the 1. And then I did something repeating that to the 2/5 back to the C minor, but I used a progression at the end of the first 8 bars, rather than sitting on the 1 again, I did a rather than just sitting on the 1 there for 2 measures, I did this 1, 4, 3, 2. Then I didn't like that so much, so I did approaching the B flat diminished chord. I go flat 7, the 6th chord, and then down a half step to the B7 to approach the B flat. I like that better than the 1, 4, 3, 2. Right? Now notice that I'm doing the locked hands position here on the head. So I'm doubling the melody note in the left hand. It works perfectly, like this. Against that bass pedal, you know, B flat. Whoop. Again. Well, now the second A, I'm playing left hand chordal voicings, in other words, fourths. So I can do, now, you have to pick out a scale. So I'm picking out this one. That's the one basically I'm using. I could use, that's the natural minor scale, the Aeolian scale, relative to E flat, relative minor, or I could use the melodic minor, which these are natural, or I could use the harmonic minor, which that one gives me the leading tone on the G7. You see, so those 3 scales I'm using, particularly when I get to the F minor, I'm going to use that one. So now in this song I have a variety of techniques. I'm using the right hand chords with left hand bass note. I'm using the spread voicings. I'm using the rootless chords up here. And I'm using the locked hands position. All those techniques. Now at the end of the song it's extended. So I'm going to try to build up the drama at the end, like, you know. So I go into these big sounding chords. 4th voicings here, octaves and harmonization. And then a tritone substitute here. So you want to have dynamics, you know, throughout the song. You want to have, so the bridge gets a little softer, and then the last A section builds in drama to the end. You want to have that in all your arrangements. You want to have building of the intensity, and also building of the loud versus soft and soft versus loud. In other words, the dynamics. Signing off from the Jazz Ranch. Thanks so much for joining me. Please write to me. I love to hear from you. You know, I will answer all comments and emails if you give me time. It might take a month, you know, like just keep writing to me if you don't hear from me, and I will write. And just give me the time. And until next time, I'll say, be safe, be smart, be cool, but also spread kindness, and of course, swing loose. Bye-bye.